Hey guys, just here for this week's dev update. I think on Oxen Core, primarily what we worked on this week was we put in basically a placeholder for decoy selection, which uses it basically just uses a gamma distribution, which is a type of distribution for selecting from a range. It's not the distribution that we want to use in the end. We still want to spend some more time working out how people actually spend Oxen, and there might be some community related feedback in that process as well. But we've put in some placeholders for now for the new Wallet 3, and we'll be replacing those probably in the new year. We also spent some time in Oxen Core fixing up the RPC documentation for public RPC calls to the Oxen daemon. They were quite out of date, and we fixed up the automatic documentation process so that they're currently more up to date, in the fields that you get as a response and the fields that you can call to as well are actually in line with what is available on the public RPC. On session, we primarily have been working towards WebRTC calls. Hopefully before we go on holiday this year, we'll be doing a beta release of calls, which we'll be talking about probably later this week or early next week, hopefully. There's just a few things to go on that front with Android, which we've been fixing up. And we also worked on a bit of documentation as well for the Session Open Group server, which I'll go into now. So on the Session Open Group server side, we basically continued our work on the bot API, which we've been talking about a bit. So that's the part that we specifically worked on was essentially the communication between the Session Open Group server and the bot API using OxenMQ, so that they can kind of send and receive or they can receive events on the bot side and then send updates to the Session Open Group server to perform administrative actions like banning a user or deleting messages. And we also got quite a bit further on the Debs packaging for the Session Open Group server as well. There's currently some documentation on how to set it up manually, but that's kind of in a less developed state. We actually want it just to be like a deb package like the current Session Open Group server, where you can download it by adding a repository on Ubuntu or Debian or whatever distribution you're using, and then it will automatically take over from the current Rust operation. So you'll still have all of the messages if you're a Session Open Group server operator, and you'll be switched over to the new Python server, so you won't need to do any weird migration stuff. On Lokinet, I think we published some builds for that Windows fix that I was talking about before, which was related to DNS, and we also got a little bit further on the documentation side as well. I think that just about wraps it up, so thanks guys for listening.